So this is my client-side program for the RGB slider project. Again, it's very similar to the slider project you showed us, but I did take a different way of actually tying in the Arduino to the server. I have more happening, I think, on the client side than what you showed us. Full disclosure, I'm sending you this after watching your solution, but I had completed it before. But I wanted to send it because I did do it so much differently than you did. So this is, again, my send data function. I had used this in my last assignment that I sent to you, and it's not really changed. As we go down for all the different buttons, I added the global variables at the first time I've used this a particular variable, and then I get the strength from the slider, and then the data string basically consists of the strength from the slider, and then for a button it's 0 0 for the other two colors. And then I added a letter for blink, toggle, or slider. And you'll see on the server side, basically the only thing that does is if it's a B, it goes into the blink function. If it's not a B, it doesn't go into the blink function. But I didn't want the different data to be different lengths. So I added the extra letter for each different type of data being sent. So that's basically the logic for a push button. The green, again, we have the green strength here. The string's a little different with the green being in the middle, but it's the same theory, and then we send that to my data. The blue button for the push button is the same, and then the toggle buttons, basically, it's the same theory. We get the red strength. We send it to the my data function, and then if it's off, we just send all zeros. And here, like I said, I used this T to indicate toggle. Maybe in the future that would be useful, but it's not really doing anything but not a B in this program. And so here's the same. The green toggle is the same. The blue toggle is the same. And then the sliders, basically the same thing. For each slider, though, I get all three values and then send that into the string. Basically, my data string is the concatenation of the three different strengths, and then send it to my data. That way, anytime you change any of the sliders, it sends the RGB values that are currently set to the server. So here's the green slider, there's the blue slider, and then again my off button, which is no different than what you saw last time. This is the server-side program for the RGB LED slider project. It's basically the setups. I get an integer for the three different values, set up the pin modes, connect to Wi-Fi. Here's our split string function, which is exactly the same as what you had showed us, and we've used the last couple things. And then in the loop, we receive the data. I split it. I set the RGB, which is just a simple setting of the RGB values here. And then if it's not a B in that data that came over for blink, it just goes to the right RGB values. And if it is a B for blink, it goes to the blink function, which blinks 5 times and then turns off. So this is actually simpler than I think it was last time, and it's much simpler than yours, which, again, I think I took a different approach than what you did. I'm not sure if it's any different or any better. One of the approaches is any better than the other, but it is significantly different. This is the RGB with sliders project. As you can see, if I click blink red, it blinks red. Blink green, it blinks green. Blink blue, it blinks blue. Top red, set it so that all the sliders start at maximum, so that when these buttons pull the values, when the program starts, if you click on them, they won't be at 0. So when you move the sliders, it also sends the RGB. So as I decrease the red, it clearly is showing more blue-green, but if I would click blink red now, it does honor the slider value, and you can see if I turn it down and click blink red, it's very low, or toggle red, it does pull the values. And then as I move the sliders around, the green, here I'll turn them all to 0, and we can as I toggle the green, you see it follows. The green on this LED seems to be the dominant color for sure. And the blue. And then based on the sliders, I can do all the color mixing. I can get a good fuchsia. If I turn the blue off, I get a nice orange or yellow, and then start going up to here we can get a cyan. So I'm happy with how it turns out. And then I do have my off button that I had in the last project.